Hi. All right. So kind of a surprise live, but I wanted to get this mold knocked out as fast as possible. So it's going to be today. Alexa, countdown, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
All right. I'm giving myself 15 minutes only to touch up this sculpt, and then I'm going to mold it. I'm going to waste 30 seconds of that 15 minutes by having a drink of cold Coke Zero. My wife is over there monitoring comments, so feel free to engage, ask, talk, whatevs, yo. There we go. Not a super difficult mold on this one, or a sculpt on this one, I should say. Just pretty simple, along the lines of things I have sculpted before quite a bit. You want to put in a little bit of detail.
Giving some hellos. Larry Hughes says MHC is getting close.
Yes, MHC is. My plan is to have a couple of these guys at MHC. So I'm molding him today, so I have time to get a little bit of pores done. All right. I'm just using a ball tip stylus right now. I am definitely going to mold tonight. I just put a little more detail into this. I'm not putting teeth on this one because I want for people to be able to wear their own teeth while they do this. Any comments, honey?
Alan Hirsch says, Alan, I am back.
Hey, glad to have you back. Where'd you go? What the heck?
Streamline Studios says that your sculpt looks great.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Tommy says hello. Just Tommy.
Just Tommy. Okay. Da-da-da-da. I think that this guy would rub his nose a lot, like when he's nervous. So I'm going to smooth his nose out and make it have significantly less texture. I'm just doing that with a brush.
Where can I find a list of your classes and workshops?
Oh my. Well,
for MHC?
Do you mean for MHC alone? Because if for MHC, that's all going to be on the MHC stuff. My wife said that she was going to work on a page of the website that has all my upcoming classes and appearances. I hate using that word, but appearances. She said she was going to do that. She didn't, but now that I've told everybody, she will feel obligated to do such a thing.
I'm going to tell them that you're going to bed without supper. That's where you're going.
Yes.
Rob said no at your place. I think he means, does he mean Monster Camp? What he wants to know, list of classes and workshops here.
Okay. Wife, speak loudly. Let them hear you.
We have Monster Camp that will be at the end of next month, the 28th, the 29th, and the 30th. We are also going to host, and I'm going to just pull that, I'm just going to do it now. We're going to have Krampus Camp in November. It is a one-day make and take. That is going to be How long would it take you to get ready for months for Krampus Camp? How many days?
Not long.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be on the 23rd of November. That is a Saturday. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on Krampus Camp?
Okay, so Krampus Camp is kind of along the lines of Monster Camp that I do, where you make a whole half mask by yourself. But we're only going to make Krampus masks, and we're not going to do any sculpting and molding and pouring up. I'm gonna have a bunch of, just like I've got right now. Like right now, right here, I've got all these masks poured up. I'll have a bunch of masks poured up, and you'll pick a mask and you'll pick horns, and we'll paint it and attach the horns and hair it all on that day, and you'll walk out with a Krampus mask. I think that'll be a lot of fun for anybody who wants to get into Krampusing.
And January the 10th, 11th, and 12th, we tentatively have Monster Camp 4.
January 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Tentatively, Monster Camp 4.
Okay.
That is what you have on the books for your...
So we have a June, a November, and a January.
Correct.
Okay.
Rob says, thanks, wife. You're welcome. Tommy wants to know, does your wife participate in haunts? That's where we met.
Yes. She was just a customer up until we, started dating heavy. And then she was a greeter for me at Trail of Terror and Terra del Monstrum and in Allen. Well, not in Allen. You didn't do it till Mesquite.
Mesquite,
Right.
Screams, and then
Yeah.
Dark Hour.
Yep.
And then I worked Dark Hour, and I was manager and...
Yes. So yes, she does work
yes,
haunts.
I do haunts too. Darren Reed wants to know, will that be hard to pull from the mold with the nose being such an undercut?
Nope. Undercuts aren't that big of a deal. Especially when you are talking about, I'm pulling a latex mask out of a plaster mold. Latex is very flexible. It's going to be no problem for this to turn a corner and just not be an issue. While I am working on the sculpture, I'm also looking at what can I do to make molding.
Michael Lasker says, don't forget executive slave driver for Still Beast. That's also my job.
Yes, you are also the executive slave. I'm adding a little spot to make strapping these easier. I'm actually putting in an undercut. Okay, that's nice. Okay. Hoping the ears have enough curve this way, this kind of a curve going out to keep them from being too jiggly and too bouncy. If I need to, I can throw some EVA foam in there. So,
Tommy asks, what is Krampus?
Tommy, where have you been? You been under a rock? Krampus is a Christmas monster. It is a Christmas demon, some say. But basically, it is a creature that lives up in the Alps, and it comes down on Krampusnacht, which is December 5th, and it snatches up all of the bad kids and beats them and threatens them and all that, so that when Santa gets here, he only gives presents to good kids. Not because he wants to, but that's all that Krampus left. So basically, Krampus is a Christmas time nursery bogey. Before we were all nice to our kids and stuff, we just threatened them a lot. And that is what Krampus is. He is a child-threatening device that has been getting a resurgence in popularity. I'm a huge fan of Krampus. All right, I'm actually going to go start some water because my sink is very slow. much.
Oh, what a
Okay. So one thing I want to do is I want to pledge the sculpture, the clay.
Any plans to see Godzilla King of Monsters?
Sunday morning. I'm going to see it Sunday morning.
I'm gonna tilt your camera down. There you go.
Our lives are a little bit regimented, so we have to do things in a timely manner, or at least figure out when we can do stuff. Sunday is going to be the best time for us to do that, so that's when it happens. Can't wait. I'm very excited. Godzilla, one of my favorites.
I think this is ready.
Okay. I'll come get it in a moment. Now I'm applying Vaseline to the parts of the head form that are not covered.
So yoga then movies sounds like a plan.
Right.
Yes.
Indeed. Okay.
Have you talked about the classes that you're going to do at MHC?
No. Why don't you pull those up and we'll talk about them?
Your first class is Friday at 2 p.m. on Friday the 7th. That is Haunt Design Walkthrough.
Okay. In my Friday class at MHC, we're going to build a haunted house. We're going to start with some concepts. We're going to figure out characters. We're going to figure out sets. We're going to figure out the scenario, like what's happening. And then we'll go and we'll design individual rooms and how they work. And we're going to put that together in a show. I think that's going to be a really good class. Just to see my creative process and how I put haunts together. Doesn't mean you do it the same way, but maybe there's something that I do that you'll like.
On Saturday at 9:30 a.m. you're doing the top 10 scare characters for haunts.
Okay, that class is misnamed. What that class should be called is the top 10 underrated monsters for haunted houses. Kind of the same, but these are characters that any haunt can use, but most haunts don't. Instead of adding another chainsaw wielding clown to your show, take a moment and maybe think about adding one of the monsters I'm going to talk about in this class, who you don't see all the time. Just like Krampus, someone didn't even know what that was. It's a chance to edumacate and fearimacate.
Sunday at 10 a.m. Alan's top 5 materials in 2019.
All right, so y'all know that I make a lot of stuff. And y'all also know that I do a lot of experimentation. Well, these are my top 5 discoveries that I have made in materials this past year. Maybe year and a half, something like that. And this class I envision being it'll be a series, because every year I'll do this class at MHC, and it'll be new stuff. It'll be an update. And this kind of came about because, I do a lot of different classes, and I was doing an actor training class, and someone said, I already saw your actor training class. And my instinct is to say, the hell you have, this is a new one. I do a lot of new stuff. I make sure if I teach actor training, I cover different things, different angles. So, but this is, you saw this class last year, but you haven't seen the class this year. because I learned new stuff, and that's what I added.
Is there any videos showing your haunt?
Alexa, stop. Dark Hour Haunted House is the haunted house that I work at. And you can see a lot of Dark Hour Haunted House promo videos and things. So I guess the short answer is yes. Is there a straight up full walkthrough? You don't get that with a lot of pro haunts. So yes and no. I'm going to turn this guy back on.
Was this sculpt done on a plaster or a resin sculpting form?
This was done on plaster. So it's definitely done on plaster. All right, so you know what? I'll move the camera and we'll look right over here. So I about have to make some plaster now. Do a little bit of the old mixy mix.
It says, where is this class? Do you do this online?
Well, this is a class online, so it's like a class. So this counts, but Monster Camp and all those classes happen here at my shop in Quinlan, Texas. And people do come from kind of all over the country to make monsters here in the shop. And I think that is awesome. Because I like making me some monsters and I like teaching other people how to make monsters. Going to do, I'll bring you over here. Why not? Want to see a dead body? Whenever I drag him across the room like that, I always want to say, want to see a dead body? Okay. So this is Hydrocal plaster. You'll notice I'm not just dumping it in. I'm sort of sifty shaking it in. I don't want just a big clump down there. I'm trying to put it evenly around the whole bowl. If I were doing a lot of this, several molds in a day, I would most certainly wear a dust mask or particle mask. And what you'll notice is that water is going to get saturated and this stuff will sink to the bottom slower and slower.
Hello from Scotland.
Hello from Scotland.
I would love to see a Stan Winston type school for haunting.
Well, I think right now you're in the best that you've got, my friend. And I just think that the potential for income is not the same as it is in the movie business. So the perceived value of that just isn't as high. My Monster Camp classes here are $450, and you're going to come here for 3 days. You got to take care of your own hotel, of course, but we feed you. My wife is an excellent cook, and you end with a finished product mask and a head form to make more, and a nice set of sculpting tools. So,
And an apron.
And an apron. So that's that. If you wanted to just play along at home, I have so many videos, it's not even funny, on making masks. This is going to be a really nice, clean one because this is like an assassin video, I call it. I come in, I do one thing, and then I'm done. All I'm going to do tonight is mold this mask. That's it. So now there's plaster. It's really taking a long time to sink down into that water. It's just sitting on the surface. As soon as it builds up all the way and gets to a what we call cracked earth or dry riverbed, that is when it is going to be ready for us to start mixing it.
Have you ever watched that show called Face Off, and what did you think?
I've watched all 11 seasons of Face Off. I thought it was a great show. There are some years when I watch it and I think, yep, that's the week I would have went home because I suck at that. And there's a couple seasons where I'd say, oh, maybe I could have won that one. I like it. And I was close to applying once, but it's a matter of time. It's also very geared for the movie industry. And I'm very much a haunted house guy. I don't want to do movies. I'm not doing this because I'm a failed movie artist. I'm a haunted house artist. That is my dry riverbed. See what that looks like? Perfect. Okay, let's get you back over here.
Do you have shirts and aprons available at MHC?
Yes, we will. We will have shirts and aprons at MHC. And hats. Yes, very exciting. I'd like us some hats. This is another elf or goblin, is what this mask is. I saw that one. A few brushes, and I'll be right back to you. Throw some gloves on. So now I'm going to get down in it.
I like the elf, but I'm 6'3".
You'd be a big elf.
I'm a real elf.
I'll be right back in just a moment. 6'3" elf.
I think he could pull it off. Yes, Michael Laster, we will save you an apron. Come by and see us as soon as you can, and we can do that. Linda Forbes says hello.
Hello. Is it me you're looking for? Okay. All right, so my plaster has now... I let it sit for a bit before I mixed it up. I just, you know, and now the water has seeped into all those powders. I'm not going to have big lumps like I would if I dumped it in and just started mixing right away. Let it sit for a second. Be patient. Let the water and the plaster get to know each other. Let them make friends. Don't you want your plaster and your water to be friends? We'll live together for a long time. Okay. There's no real need for me to put this on and really brush the heck out of it because this clay is soft. So if I really brush it, I'm actually going to change my sculpture. I'm loading up my brush and I'm just touching it enough so it wicks off of that brush and starts getting things covered.
You've just been called the Bob Ross of haunts.
Well, that's possible, I suppose. I like Bob Ross is a very peaceful style. Screaming is going to happen. Someone's going to wear this and screaming is going to happen. Doesn't have to happen while I'm working. I don't need to hear screamo metal. Don't need to bombard this sculpture with a bunch of F-bombs. I think that the care you put into making it, and right now we're nurturing this. We're making sure that this is going to be a thing and be a useful thing out in the world. If we are constantly dousing it in cigarette smoke, how happy is this thing going to be? I don't know. I'm not willing to risk it. I'm a weirdo. I'm a weirdo.
Tomorrow night you're going to be at Reindeer Manor's haunted garage sale.
Yeah, I will. This is it, folks. I'm covering a face in plaster. If this is going to be interesting, it's because you asked good questions. First person who says you missed a spot owes me $1.
Any masks for sale this year? I got the Frankenstein one last year.
Of course I'll have masks for sale. That's kind of my business. I'll have a couple of this guy. I think I'm going to have a Frankenstein, actually. I've got one poured up and ready to paint. I have a bunch of fun stuff happening. Stacy, who works with me in the shop quite a bit, she does all my sewing. She has taken to making some headgear stuff for girls. There's just not enough stuff out there for haunt ladies. And she makes these really cool head altar things with candles on them. And then she has smaller fascinator styles, which are nice. Just really cool stuff. I think it's cool. So I'll have several of those in the booth. I will, of course, have awesome teeth for sale for actors who want different teeth.
Tommy says he is now more interested in Krampus.
Look him up. He's actually pretty darn cool.
Michael Lasker says, I've actually never seen you do this before. I'm paying rapt attention.
Well, my job is to make it look easy. So, all the time you've watched me, you never see me make a mold? How's that work?
How much are your masks?
My masks start at about $95 or so, and they will go up. I think I'm going to have some blanks at MHC. That'll be $30. My most expensive mask is $250. That is an LED eye mask, a mask with LED eyes. I'll probably have a few apocalypse masks, I think. Not many, so if you want one, get there early. At the booth. Apocalypse masks are my EVA foam helmets. But I just won't have a lot of time to make them because of Transworld orders. My head form is set up in such a way that I just mold all the way right down to the table. That way when I pour this up later, when I pour this up later, it's an even bowl. Like I'll flatten this out up top, and then I'll be able to just fill it up nicely with latex and not have to worry about it.
How long do you have to work with the plaster before it sets?
This will set up in about 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm in Texas, so it's a little warmer than most places. So maybe I'll only have 25. As I'm using my brush right now, I'm monitoring this plaster, and I am feeling its thickness. You can see I'm getting a nice, good, creamy coat on right now. I'm gonna get this whole guy coated up. And once that is done, and the plaster is thick enough, I'll just start applying it with my hands right over top of this. I don't normally do a burlap layer because you just don't need it if you make your mold thick enough. The way that my molds break is always from falling from a great height. If it breaks with burlap in it, it's much harder to glue back together than if it breaks without it. Think of a china cup. If a china cup was held together by silk on the inside, they'd be a lot harder to glue back together. I almost have a layer over the whole thing. You guys can't see, but I'm working on the ear on the other side. I'm not just goofing off over here. I'm making extra sure that I'm getting plaster. I have a little bit of an undercut on the ear, so the ear has a good shape, because they're going to have hollow backs. So they have to kind of wrap around a little bit in their look. So the ears have a bit of an undercut on them, which I want. Undercut's not a bad thing. They're just misunderstood. I'm going to look up under the nose. Sure enough.
Psycho Axeman says, undercuts kill me.
Well, are you sculpting in monster clay? Monster clay is so much firmer than wet clay or water-based clay. If I mold this with an undercut, when I pull this off, that nose is just going to rip off and stay in there. All I got to do is dig it out.
The tree monster mold practically jumped off the table a few times.
That sucker fell like 5 times, and it was fine. So, yeah.
The nose would break for me if I molded it.
Well, why? What do you do differently?
Pottery clay is what I use.
Okay, that's about what I use. When you say it would break, I don't know what you mean. But I wish that everything works out for you.
Will you build up anything under the nose or ears?
I already have. Those are all built up underneath the ears with clay. Odds are really good. I'm gonna flip this guy and demold him tonight, so you'll see more. But yeah, I sculpted it, and the ears kind of ramp right down to the table, but I put a little bit of undercut on them so that from the front, visually, you'll see it looks like a whole ear. The nose, no, I'm just going to fill this with plaster. Because of the size of the nose and because of the ears, this will actually be a fairly heavy mold. And now I've got to build it up to here, you know, to go past that nose. That's a lot of plaster. I'll probably cheat that a little bit. And right now, I'm not even letting it really touch the sculpture at all. I am getting it right over top, and then I'm giving it a good shake because I don't want to pull off the plaster I've already put on there. I'm looking at this side. I can see this side a lot better, and that tells me that I probably haven't messed with the cheek enough on this side because I can't see it. I should go a little heavier over here because I have less access because of where my plaster is. So of course I move the bowl over here and then work on this side. I am your friend, not your smart friend. Molding is what makes it a mask, you know. Sculpture's great. And there's a lot of people who make great sculptures, but they don't make great masks. The mold is the tool that lets it transform from, lets it come to life. I'm bigger over here. Well, we're getting there.
You need a ladle.
I'm setting this down. I don't need a ladle. I got hands, and I'll get to that in a minute.
Line Cook Thor 2006 says, "Hey Alan."
Hey, line cook.
Pyro X-Man says it's a detail coat.
You know what? This is a detail coat and a build-up coat. Yes, this is a beauty coat, but I'm also building up my plaster, and I'm letting it get thicker and thicker. And I'm going to do this sucker. Hydrocal likes to be done in one coat. Ultracal really wants you see, and now I've got a better consistency. Now I can build up some at the bottom and just pull it on up. Ultracal wants you to do 3 layers, and it wants you to do a beauty coat, let's see, it's the beauty coat, and that's the finish coat, which is, you know, the smoothing coat, build up, and then the burlap. It wants all of those, and that's how it works best. Hydrocal is like, just do it all at once, man. Don't waste my time. And I'm a little more of a don't waste my time kind of guy. If your water is too warm with Hydrocal, you can get some little cracks in it, which aren't good. And here, I'm not touching the sculpture. I do not want to touch the sculpture. I'm hovering over that sculpture, just allowing the plaster to build up a thickness. Right now, it is a non-Newtonian fluid. So I put it on, it's kind of a solid, and then if I jiggle it, I remind it it's a liquid, and that's when it starts to flow. And that is the perfect time to work with this stuff.
Maybe use a ladle if needed for a very last coat.
You know, my last coat I'm going to do thicker, so it'll be too thick to ladle. My last coat's a little, it's like peanut butter in the microwave for 20, 30 seconds. You're obsessed with ladles.
Have I mentioned how awesome these live streams are?
Who's that?
Dwight Carter.
I like the live streams because I don't have time to edit YouTube Wednesday. Just ain't got time. I have the desire. My wife and I were discussing today how busy we are. And it comes up What do I have to cut out to be a little less busy? Is it, well, that's not important. But yeah, I like the live streams too, because it lets me keep doing this and keep in contact with you guys. I've made so many friends who I'm always very happy to see at shows through YouTube, either YouTube Wednesday or, you know, when I was streaming on Facebook, and now going live on YouTube.
Yay, I finally did a live one. Hi, Alan. This is from Window Liquor.
Hello, Window Liquor. Long time no talk.
Where can you buy Hydrocal in a local store?
Well, you want to find a ceramic supply store. It's very, if they have it at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby, it's going to be super expensive. It's going to be a big markup. Buy a 100-pound bag. I'm going to use probably 20 pounds on this mold, maybe 25.
When are you going to finish the airbrush video series for YouTube?
Who is asking that? Shut them down.
That would be Michael Lassiter asking.
I did mention how busy I was, how I don't have a lot of time to edit. Thanks, Michael. When I can.
When are you going to do that?
When I can get them
Get
done.
around to it.
Yeah.
You said you were going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day. It'll happen. It'll happen. I'll have more gray hair in that one than I did in the others.
It's YouTube Friday.
Yes, it is. Tater, my friend Tater calls it YouTube whenever.
Psycho Axeman has donated $2.
Hooray! $2. That is very nice. I appreciate that. Okay. Need to mix me up some more plaster. And I'm not going to worry about too much here. I'm just going to, I'm smoothing it down so that there's no air pockets when I go one layer to the next.
You need someone to edit for you.
I do. I need someone to edit and make fun of me with little white captions like I do.
Like cat videos.
Like what?
Cat videos. What people do. Not that I watch a lot of cat videos.
I'm still here. Hasn't frozen.
I can do that for you.
Well, I need it, so.
Okay. Your wife does a great job at fielding questions. Thank you, Tommy.
It's just going to go to her head, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
We're going to be laying in bed tonight. She'll go, someone said I do a great job of fielding questions.
Great job at fielding questions. I'm just trying to help.
Okay.
Tommy,
So-
just Tommy.
That plaster wasn't very hard. All right. So that plaster wasn't really hard. So I am just going to add using the same bucket. We'll also make this batch kick faster because there's kicking plaster in there already. And it'll feel like it's the same batch. It's already got friends.
Get a college intern to help you. I guess to do your editing.
That would be lovely.
Oh, someone said I was awesome. Y'all very sweet. Thanks, guys.
Guys, you're just exacerbating my problems. Quit talking nice to my wife.
The other day, I was watching some of your older videos and you had your ponytail. What a sexy man beast.
Well, yes, I used to have a ponytail tail and long hair. If you're going to have long hair, you should take good care of it. And I was just too busy.
He says the captions is why I followed Stilt Beast back in the day. Your YouTube Wednesday captions?
Oh, yeah. All right. So because this batch I want thicker, I'm going to go a little bit more than dry riverbed. Oh, here we go. Hello, Jones. Bones Jones.
Alan kind of looks like Wolfman Jack.
Yes.
Window Liquor says, what is a Stilt Beast?
That is a beast that is on stilts. That I make a lot of stilt costumes. So I have always just kind of taken Stilt Beast as my moniker because I was a beast on stilts.
Jonesy the cat has joined us.
Yes, Jonesy the cat has joined us. He is our orange tabby, named after the orange tabby from the Aliens movies. I used to say the Aliens trilogy, but now it's like, this is what, 9 of them? A lot of alien movies.
James Allen said the only one who can make fun of yourself is yourself.
No, people make fun of me all the time, trust me. I don't have the market cornered. Again, this batch, I really want thicker.
How long have you been in the haunted house industries? You know, we should get you a proper number.
I started in 1986.
Okay.
My first haunt I worked at was in 1986. So October of 1986. How long have I been in the industry, wife?
You have been in the industry for 33 years.
33 years.
What's the greatest movie of all time?
What? The Princess Bride.
Oh.
I think The Princess Bride is probably my favorite movie. It has monsters, it has sword fighting, it has adventure,
Romance.
it has Andre the Giant. And I'm laughing because I was just reading the other day that one day during production, Andre the Giant let out a 30-second fart. And the director like stopped everything and said, "Andre, are you okay?" And Andre goes, "I am now." And they carried on with their business. But yeah, 30-second fart. That is impressive. Okay. This little quarter of the head here has a bit on it, but not enough for my liking. And I can tell I'm going to need one more coat even after this.
Most people get mad at people who make fun of them. But if you make fun of yourself, people making fun of you will not matter.
Yes, that is a certain type of armor. That is, picking on yourself before anyone else has a chance. Not a terrible strategy. Just don't ever believe it.
You ever use monster clay for sculpts?
I do. I do use monster clay for sculpts. I like monster clay. I like it for small things that I have to keep really detailed. Anything head-sized, I'd much rather use water-based because Well, I would just much rather use water-based. It's faster. Monster clay is a slower clay to work with because it's firmer. So you have to work it or warm it up. So I can't sculpt as fast as I can think. And a big measure for me, is being able to execute an idea or a concept really fast with the clay that I'm using. Right now you'll see I'm packing this plaster under the nose. I want to do that before I pile a lot of weight on top of the nose, or it could break off like someone mentioned. Knowing molding to a degree is knowing, you know, a little bit of engineering, a little bit of structural mechanics.
What's the big head thing in front of you? Looks like Michael Myers mask.
You won't find a Michael Myers mask in my shop. Just because there's 80,000 people who make Michael Myers. This is Michael Myers in part 1. This is Michael Myers in part 2. This is Michael Myers in part 5. This is Michael Myers' second cousin wearing his mask. You can tell because the cheeks bulge out differently. People are obsessed with Michael Myers, and I don't care that much. You know, it's like, cool, monster, let's move on. So, what is the thing in front of me?
It is the head that is right there on that bottom line.
Oh, that'll be a leprechaun in the future. So, yeah. I wasn't yelling at you, window licker. I get adamant. It looks like a Myers mask because it's unpainted.
How much plaster does it take to make a half mold?
20 to 30 pounds, depending.
Jones just made a cameo on that.
Did he? I got another coat to do. Easy, one more coat. So while I'm brushing this off, let me dump this out real quick in the garbage. Timothy, you're not going to like this.
2 for real high. How late am I? Not late.
Who's that?
To me, be for real.
I'm wrapping up this mold, so you're fairly late.
Okay. Never mind. Rob O'Brien said, geez, whatever you do, don't ask me about clowns.
Listen,
Okay. Oh, Lord.
you bring up clowns.
Did it again.
Low-hanging fruit. Lowest common denominator. Not that they're bad, just I know that they're going to be there. You know?
Let's see. When I was a kid, I licked the frost off the glass freezer doors at the supermarket. Keith Runick.
I bet that's because of Window Licker's name.
Show the masks in background, please.
No, I refuse. Whoosh. Can I see him?
Yep. Those are the minor elves.
Yeah. Not because they're under 18 years old. They are minor elves because they have little mining helmets on.
Window Licker says, I take it he doesn't make clown masks.
These are future plant creature masks. There are several based out elf masks over there. Over here, there are other masks that are waiting to be made. were kind of made. They were made a little bit. They were made-ish. All right, let's get this pup going. Once again, I'm gonna throw on some gloves because plaster will dry out your hands pretty fast.
Hey, what was in the back of the box truck on the road trip?
Oh, I can't tell you. That's not like was a secret for a little while. I've signed non-disclosure agreements, and I can't tell you what we did. When you work for theme parks sometimes, probably should have said that, they make you sign non-disclosure agreements. But it was just some set work that we had done for them. Very cool. And we delivered and installed it in California.
What are you making?
I am making a mold for a elf goblin mask. It is a half mask mold.
Says you were going to town down there in the Lone Star State.
I got monsters to make, my friend. I'll tell you something fun. My friend Bart Butler is moving back to Texas.
Yay.
And he's probably going to help out here in the show quite a bit.
Oh, that'd be good.
He is very excited.
Come on, buddy. Hi, buddy. Oh, my little friend.
Is that Jonesy?
That's Jonesy. He is in a very social mode this evening.
Wondering why we're not in the house.
Yes, yes. Right now, I would read to you the comments, but they're having a conversation on licking
Okay.
from Window Licker's name.
You just let them do that.
I am. I'm just going to let that go on. Lion Cook says, awesome work as always, Alan.
Thank you. Currently it looks a bit like a white blob, so I appreciate you seeing through that.
I would love to come down there and hang out with you guys.
Oh, well, come on.
Bring shop clothes.
Yeah, bring something you don't mind getting messed up.
Do people realize that when they come to visit you, they're put to work?
I think most do by now. I am consistent. I also don't have any non-haunted house friends. If you want to hang out with me, you're working at a haunted house. That's just how it goes. That's how my life is.
How many masks do you make a year?
$150? Maybe, no, 200? About 200 probably. That I make a year? Yeah, that's fair.
When is it cool down there? I'm the guy in Ohio who hates heat. We've actually had a pretty lenient year this year so far.
As far as heat or as far as?
As far as heat, last year we got hot early and stayed hot, but this year we're just now getting into high 80s. And usually we're a little warmer than that, so.
Yeah, but
we can also get very cold. We're in North Texas.
yes.
So you can get very cold in the winter. Doesn't stay that cold, but we can get there.
You don't necessarily hate cold, but I prefer to be comfortable.
You were raised in cold.
Yeah, I was raised in Maryland, so I'm used to cooler weather.
Window Liquor says, I'm talking like 65 and under. I have that in the fall and the winter.
Move to Alaska.
And
Yeah.
we're about to go up north, so we're gonna get our hoodies on again.
65 and under, probably December, January. We did have an Indian summer though in December though, didn't we?
We had a little warm and then it dropped down. We're everything here. Especially where we are, we can get anything. What's the best mask you ever made?
Boy,
It's hard.
there's a lot of ways for something to be the best. I like werewolf masks. I've made some good ones. I don't know. I always strive for the last mask that I made to be the best one. You know, that's what you want. See how this stuff I'm going to put on, it's going to smooth out here. You typing answers?
I'm answering Monster Camp questions.
Let's see.
Howdy neighbor, yeah, so we have weather all over the place too. That's window liquor. Hey, did those airbrush cobwebs hold up?
Oh, they absolutely do.
And
They absolutely do hold up. They're great. They're the exact same as the fan drill method, except instead of building a fan and a holder onto a drill, you're just going to shoot it through your airbrush.
how well should I mix the spray paint
What spray paint?
on for the cobwebs?
Now, cobwebs. The cobwebs I was shooting out of my little black airbrush, and I just used contact cement. Now later, I would dust them with a little bit of white spray paint to make them show up a little better.
Are you gonna mold any more Khajiit cat masks this year?
Do you mean pull? Because I already made the mold. Yeah, I've got a couple sitting over there right now. I won't make them look exactly the same because that was a special request by a client, but I might make some black ones or whatever.
I need you to move the camera down a bit.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm working on a giant spider. Any suggestions?
Make him giant. I suggest 8 legs. And furry spiders hide a multitude of sins. And you can be a little more loosey-goosey in your construction. But a black chitinous spider is a little bit scarier looking, in my opinion. I think a black widow looks scarier than a tarantula if they were the same size. I'm gonna need one more batch of this.
Oh my.
That's how that's gonna go. Told you, it's a big mold. Time is it?
10:15.
How long have we been here?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know.
Don't think about
He's on everything. A little late to party tonight. Looking forward to seeing all of you next week in the Chicago suburbs at the Billboard.
That's awesome. Can't wait to be in Chicago.
You have got a very active shop, Cat. Oh. All over the place.
This is the stage of the mold where I'm pulling it up from the bottom. And I always think about that scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. That was it, right? Where, is it Richard
Yes.
Dreyfuss?
Yes, it is. Very good.
Who, this means something when he's making it out of his mashed potatoes.
Are you guys going to Monster Fest in California?
Wait, what's Monster Fest?
I don't know.
I know about Monster Palooza, and I'm not going to go to Monster Palooza this year, but I am going to Monster Day in Greeley, Colorado, so I'll be there.
Yeah, what is Monster Fest in California? That is Psycho Axeman.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. So I guess I'm not going. No one told me.
Never heard of Monster
I wasn't invited to that party.
Long Beach and Burbank. You mean Midsummer Scream? Midsummer Scream was in Long Beach. I'm so intrigued.
What do you say it was called? Monster
We called
Fest?
it Monster Fest, but Long Beach has Midsummer Scream, so he
Well,
thinks
it could
that's-
have two.
Maybe so. I thought St. Mary's Haunted Ship was in Long Beach.
I think it is.
But now, unless they moved Midsummer Scream, when we went 2 years ago, that was in Long Beach. No, it was not 2 years ago, it was last summer. It wasn't even a year ago.
Honey, I thought I saw a question pop up asking about the website, how the website was coming.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that question?
No, I didn't see that question.
I thought I saw
The
it.
website is great. It's up, it's running.
What can you buy on the website?
New apartment.
Nothing. My wife is going to get the shopping cart set up on the website soon. That's why I'm trying to get her to retire. That way
So I can work more.
she can work more for me, because that's what's important. That's what these people want. They want to see you working on still be stuff. Don't let them down, baby.
Oh, okay. How's that airbrush on YouTube going here?
It's going great.
Is it? Is that going well? What do you guys sell?
Tell them what we sell, wife.
Oh my goodness. Get her in the kitchens. Psycho just said get her in the kitchen.
Tell her about shoes. Who told her about shoes?
Oh my god. That's actually funny because I am in the kitchen all the time.
I gave her Wi-Fi. She's got kitchen Wi-Fi.
I do. I'm always in the kitchen, so you're right. We sell, right now for swag, we have t-shirts, aprons, and ball caps. We also have the DVDs that we've had for a while, acting, airbrush, haunt design, scares, yeah, 2 airbrush DVDs. And then Alan's masks and costumes also, they're not necessarily on the website, but they certainly do get sold.
We sell a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because we make a lot of stuff. Because haunts need stuff. We also sell teeth, like actor teeth.
Oh my goodness, teeth. We just started doing that though.
And really cool gloves. Be awesome if they were on a website.
What do you guys sell? And window liquor says, you can't yet. I'm getting hammered here.
Aren't you glad you came to read
Yeah,
comments,
this
wife?
is fun. Y'all are fun. The website is stiltbestudios.com.
Sculpting Studios.
It is up with a lot of information on the other things that we do as well. And so it is there with a lot of information about training, consulting, Monster Camp, and other things as well. Monster Fest for film and books.
What?
I don't know. I don't know. Tommy asked, does your wife make masks and stuff? I help with them, Tommy.
She helps on occasion.
I do help with them. That is bound to increase even more. A lot of what I do as well is when we are working our booths and such, I am managing and handling the money.
She also handles my schedule, which is not
Absolutely.
for
see
sissies.
you.
Just because, you know, I have to do I do actor trainings and stuff all around the country. So she knows where I'm going to be, what weekend. And I just go where she tells me.
I keep him alive, vaccinated, and fed.
That's right, and tetanus shotted.
And tetanus shots. I'm in the kitchen. Who said that? Get her in the kitchen. Psycho Axeman.
I like that guy.
I do too. That's so funny and true. The truth about that is that I'm always in the kitchen, so you're right.
And she's happy in the kitchen.
I am. I'm very happy in the kitchen, sir. Go make me a sandwich. She's the boss. Not really. How would a ceiling texture gun work to apply the last coats just to speed things up? That's a question.
The last coats I don't want to shoot on per se. I want them to have a nice smooth finish. That's why you saw me just spend a little bit of time smoothing that out. And this coat here, that'll be even more evident and more obvious because I really am going to work on smoothing this sucker out. I want this to be a nice smooth mold.
What's the boss's favorite music? Is that me?
I like dark synthwave, like scary computery sounding music. And I like 80s hair bands. Bon Jovi, Warrant, Poison, Motley Crue.
You also like to sing The Gambler.
Yes, I sing The Gambler on occasion.
And sing The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
Those are the only songs I know all the words to.
That's right. But he'll sing anything, he just never finishes the song.
Now, what Shannon likes, she likes a lot of music. She is very musically inclined, much more than me.
Yeah.
And this is getting there. We're getting there. I worry it's a little thin on the end of these ears, so I'm going to build up there a little bit. This side's, I don't know if that ear was just higher up, but I'm going to build that up a little bit more too. And I got to build up the forehead in this whole area so that it will sit nice and easy. And at this stage, I'm actually going to add something to the plaster. I'm adding, this is called polyfiber, and this is a lightweight thickener. It's in all kinds of stuff. And I do this to my last batch or so of plaster, just thicken it up. It doesn't give it any strength, but the mold doesn't need strength right now. What I'm building right now is a hump, basically, for it to sit on.
How big are your haunts?
Dark Hour is in a 51,000 square foot building, and it has right about 33,000 square foot of show space. The rest is workshop, makeup room, offices, that kind of stuff. And there's a 4,000 square foot, well, almost 5,000 square foot haunted house that is asylum themed in the same building.
That's gonna be one heavy mold.
Yeah, and that's why I'm taking this little step here to lighten it a bit by putting polyfiber in here.
Window Liquor wants to know who's Shannon.
Shannon's my wife.
That's me. What's up? What are you working on?
I am molding an elf mask.
I like the theremin music. You play it with an antenna and electromagnetic waves.
Who is that?
That is Keith Rudnick. I believe that's your Kajit guy.
I actually own a theremin. I own a theremin.
Window Liquor is saying night night.
Good night, Window Liquor.
Good night, Window Liquor.
Glad you caught a live stream. Do they call these live streams? I don't know.
The real bosses are the cats.
Indeed. If I pooped in the house, they wouldn't clean it up.
And hopefully soon to be some dogs.
Yeah, doggos.
Yeah, dogs.
Okay. You could tell this is just fluffier. I'm kind of putting this down where the just thickening the edges. Any place I worry that's a little bit too thin.
I'm getting called wife a lot.
Well, as you should. You are wife.
Do you ever make masters from your molds before you begin mass producing the masks?
Absolutely. Normally I do one excitement pull because I just got to see it. And then the next one I do would be I'll make a master out of. Not always, but sometimes. If I think a mask is going to be a good seller, I'll do that. Definitely the next Piggin that I sculpt, if I sculpt another version of Piggin.
How the hell are you gonna get that off the table?
These guns. Who has that?
Keith Rudnick.
Yep, just gonna peel the sucker off the table, that's all. I did grease the table.
How's the Pilates going?
Not Pilates. It's DDPY yoga. Dallas Diamond Page yoga. It's good stuff. And it's going okay. I fell off the wagon a little bit because of my California trip. And I haven't successfully jumped all the way back on the wagon yet.
What did you do this week?
I also fell and hurt my back, so that sucks.
You have a video of making a master copy.
I do. It's actually a mask very much like this one. Yeah, making a master. Okay, now this, I think, is going to be good enough.
The wrestler Diamond Dallas Page.
That's the one.
Self high five. That's
right.
Get back on the wagon, Alan.
I wasn't like off the wagon. I was
It's like-
near. I was jogging by the wagon. Okay.
Big caps, all caps. Get back on the wagon, Alan, and then a little cap. Sorry. Boom.
Must be some DDP wires
Yeah,
watching.
we got some DDP people. I'm not a wrestling fan, so I didn't even know he was a wrestler. I just knew it was a good program. Not cool on wrestling. Don't know much of that.
In general, I don't like being yelled at. Like I don't like music that yells at me. You know, I'm not a big fan of it. So I'm a little surprised at how much I enjoy this because, you know, Dallas Diamond Page is a bit of a yeller.
Doesn't really yell on this stuff.
He yells a little bit.
He's very encouraging.
He's not yelling at you. He's just a loud dude.
He's encouraging. We made a master copy using urethane rubber 30D and ended up making it way too thick, so thick that it would not come out of the mold, and we had to cut it out, ruining the said master $100 wasted.
That sucks. Yeah, I just use latex, and then I'll back it. Well, like this big nose, I would actually put plastic bags in there, scrunched up, and then I would, so I put plastic bags in there, and then I would use AB foam, like a 3-pound AB foam. Well, this is not quite, this is not like perfect beauty standards by any means. Already is a lot of material on this mold. Don't necessarily want to make it heavier. I'm debating if I should do one more coat or not. And everybody who debates if they should do one more coat, I always tell them, do that coat. They say, I think this is enough. If you say, I think it's thick enough, probably not thick enough.
Have your molds ever grown mold?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, they do all the time. This is the porous material. You can actually treat them with a bit of vinegar before you store them long term, like outside or anywhere that's going to be wet. But you ought to keep them in a dry place.
Show the masks when you're done in the back.
Okay.
Art can be made by anyone who puts their mind to it.
Yes. My wife is telling me the time as if I could make this go faster.
No, I'm just letting you know. You are not under any gun.
We are, as I say, chemically committed. Once that plaster is kicking, it's kicking, and there's not much you can do about it.
I just finished the body of a spider with box paper, foil, duct tape, and I'm going to use paper clay to make heavy for high winds like where I live. But what would you use to make it a lightweight spider?
I would do the body out of EVA foam. I would just make a pattern and make all of your pieces out of EVA. They would contact cement together. That is what I would do.
Would mold release clean a moldy mold?
No, you want something that'll kill mold, like vinegar or bleach. And vinegar actually works better than bleach for that. Guys, doing one more little coat.
Thank you. I was banging my head against the wall trying to figure out why I had moldy molds.
Happens all the time. It's a porous material. Water is trapped in there, so it just happens.
Hey, Josie.
That's really far behind.
What's that? Huh?
The video.
Oh, I've got it paused. He stepped on it and paused it, so it's a long time on me, but the comments are still coming in right. Somebody stepped on the keyboard.
I'm just gonna do enough here to do a nice finish coat on this. So I get the mold looking prettier. Cover up, you know, some of that ugly.
You should make a Mount Rushmore that have all the classic monsters in it out of plaster.
There's some really cool art there. And working in plaster is hard.
I'm currently sculpting the ghoulie in the toilet from Ghoulies 2.
That is my favorite ghoulie. I love that bald little green bastard. Yeah, Ghoulies was great. The little fat hairy one was good too.
There's a mask maker online who's been using something called permatex to make his newer masks, citing the material's longevity and resistance to rot, unlike typical latex masks. Any thoughts?
Yes. Normally latex rot, that's fine for collectors. But my enemy that destroys masks is not latex rot. That happens 10 years down the road. I make my masks for haunted houses where they unfortunately encounter haunted house actors. And a haunted house actor can tear up a mask long before latex rot does. My masks are very much working masks, so that the intent of mine is to be worn in a haunted house, and then, be worn in a haunted house and to be used until they die, about 3 to 5 years down the road.
Your mask enemies are actors.
Yeah, that's what kills them.
I used salt for paper clay, and it didn't mold, and no flour, just glued joint compound and salt, and of course paper.
Cool. That's awesome.
Hey, Shane, did John Humphrey order something?
Maybe I'm not sure, love. I'd have to look at lists. On our video?
He's asking about an invoice for a mask he wanted you to make.
Oh,
He's asking me to please, when could he expect an invoice?
oh, he wants a witch. That's right. Remind me when we get to the house, and I'll send it tonight. It is a witch mask.
Actors can be an abomination to costume, masks, etc., but you can't run a hunt without them, and you can't kill them.
That is true. Unless you have an outdoor haunt, it's easier to kill them and hide the body. Preferably with a lake or river access. I mean, that's just a casual thought.
You clean the sweat out of a mask, it makes it last longer.
It does. If you can find someone who's willing to clean the sweat out of a mask every night, you keep that person and you pay them well. Yeah, our sweat is like acid to that latex.
if you keep your mask glossified, will it latex rot?
Yes, because that rot's going to happen from the inside. And you would not glossify the inside, you'd only do that to the outside. And latex rot normally starts inside of the mask.
The trick I used was to put some vodka in a spray bottle with water and spray the inside of the mask.
Yep. The alcohol kills a lot of the bacteria.
Have you ever used Froggy's scents in your haunt? We typically use their sprays on our costumes and set pieces with great success. Slaughterhouse, stinky cheese, rotten decay adds a whole new layer.
We do. Actually, we have a thing at Dark Hour where we use Swamp Marsh. We used it, at every show, every year, right up front, and it really helps it sets a tone. You come in and you smell Dark Hour Haunted House because we've kind of claimed that scent as our signature.
Worked very well to get rid of sweat and smell and not stress the latex too much. That's the vodka.
Yeah.
Any advice on how to make a costume look ghostly gray, dusty without leaving a trail of residue?
Spray paint, man. I back up with your spray paint and let it just land on it until you get the layer, the dust amount that you want.
Really enjoy these live streams. Any new content in the haunt community is always appreciated. That is CEC Hangouts.
Hooray. I love haunted houses. They make me happy. Haunted houses do something for me that I don't think any other kind of art form would or could do. I've done a very little bit of movie stuff. Was not a fan. Hurry up and wait. If you're ready, the sound guy's not ready. As soon as the sound guy gets ready, it's time for a union break. Infuriating. Not in haunted houses. I know when you're going to get busy. You know what's going to happen. Sort of know what to expect.
Just want to say you are a Halloween genius.
Thank you so much. It's so very nice. I don't know if I agree with you, but I appreciate you saying it. I just like to make stuff. And I'm lazy, so I try and find the easiest way to make stuff.
You're not lazy. You're many things, but lazy is not. A lazy guy would not be spending his Friday night doing this.
This is how I party.
What do you think of the new Godzilla movie?
Haven't seen it yet. I'm going to see it on Sunday. Ding. See, now I'm building this flat spot out. I don't want to build up all of this, so I'm just kind of building it out a little bit.
My latest video is on patching bubbles in a Hydrocal mold. Mold making time of year.
Indeed. Who was that?
Dark Nook.
Oh, that's awesome.
Branson Haunted Hill says hello to both of us.
Dark Nook, where are you out of again? Hello, Branson Haunted Hills.
By the way, Brightburn was super awesome. Loved it.
Haven't seen that yet. Yeah. I'm interested.
Dark Oak is out of San Diego. Hey, he's close to family.
Yeah, our brother-in-law lives there.
What are your thoughts on mask companies destroying their molds in order to make certain mask lines instantly collectible?
Good for them. They want to do that, they certainly can. Mold is just a rock. Now, it's only going to be good if it's only going to be collectible if it's good to begin with. So, they could just be biting themselves in the foot for future sales. But then again, if it isn't good, they wouldn't have any future sales anyway. It's up to them. It's a business choice. Like Crazy Larry slashing prices. That's a business style,
Good night, Tommy. Just Tommy. He's heading to bed. In a team meeting this week, a leader asked, what would we do if we weren't doing our current job? And I said, own and art direct a world-class haunted attraction. I love this stuff. That's Rob O'Brien.
Can't blame you, sir. I too am a fan of this stuff. I get the best of that. I get to art direct a world-class haunted house without having to own it.
Breaking mold sounds like an excuse to me. Yeah, we broke it to make it a collector's item, not because Dave dropped it.
Well, there is a bit of that, I guess.
Thanks for everything you have taught me and others. Not too many channels can do what you do.
I appreciate that. I love what I do.
With that said, what do you typically do with old molds you no longer use or really care to use? Throw them out, sell them, give them away, smash to bits, or use for fill?
Yes. All but the used to fill. I haven't really used them to fill. I did have a cave troll mold that my wife threatened to make a flower pot out of. It was massive.
That's true. Forgot about that.
Now's the ASMR portion of the video.
Why do you do that, Alan?
I want this to sit level. I want this because I've made a bucket. I've made a bucket in the shape that I want. That's what this mold really is, because it's going to hold latex until I pour it out. So if I can get this nice and flat, it'll hold the latex flatter or
What is that tool called?
this is a Sureform rasp. So it collects all the little plaster it's scraping up. See that? These guys. This is a metal table. If I were on a wood table, I would have greased it again. But this one's actually pretty good about releasing molds. It's pretty good about staying flat, which are both things that I want out of a table. So my head form under there weighs about 5 pounds. I probably have 20 pounds of clay on the sculpt. And this mold is probably 30 pounds. So I'm probably in the neighborhood of 60, 70 pounds maybe on this. There's still a lot of water in this plaster too.
Have you ever heard of a Japanese saw rasp?
Yes, I have.
I miss YouTube Wednesdays.
So do I, my friend. So do I. What I'm missing to do them is the massive spare time.
Don't hurt your back again.
Thank you. Who was that?
James Allen.
I'd have to fall down to hurt my back again.
Did I hear you correctly? You don't own your haunt, you are just the art director.
I'm the director of the show, yes. I've been there for 6 years. It's a year-round job. So it's one that, it's one that, this is my career, so this is a job.
What do you think of extreme haunts? Good for the haunt industry or hindering?
I'd say hindering. I don't think they're necessarily good for the industry. I think they should exist for people who want them. If that's what you think is fun, I think you should be able to do it. It doesn't seem to hurt anybody. It does hurt the industry a little bit because if a person goes to a bad haunted house, they might not go to another haunted house for the rest of their life. If they go to a good haunted house that they enjoy, then they'll probably go to another haunted house the next weekend. So that is why I think I want all haunted houses to be good, not just mine. But with that is I think they might need a little bit of regulation, which is very scary to say, but a lot of haunts don't like regulation. A lot of home haunters are appalled when you know, the fire marshal says you can't open, and you know, it's people going through it. It's lives. You know, lives are at stake. One haunted house fire could really hurt the industry, and it has before. How strict are Rhode Island's fire marshals now after the station fire? And then a home haunt might say, well, we're not going to have hundreds of people in there at a time. Not right now, but you might get successful. And if you go pro, we want you to know what you're doing.
Just pan the masks in the background.
I'm trying to show you guys something here. I'm trying to make this mold. And you're like, what kind of ant is that on the garage door? What's going on in the background? Let's look at all the other crap going around. You happy? Can I get back to work now? There we go.
Do you feel there are any products missing from the haunt industry that are needed?
Absolutely. I'm going to make them. That's one of the things that I do. I look for holes. Like, what are we missing? What do we need? While I'm acting in the haunt, I think, what would make this job easier? What would be cool to have right now? Of course there are. Because there's new products invented every day. Some of which for other industries. Some of which that we can use for haunting. I'm going around this way because I don't want a razor sharp edge on this mold to cut me. Or even rob.
Everyone leave them to the mold. I think you
I was kidding. I was just
their
kidding.
heads off into silence now.
I can't.
New Jersey is the hardest place to build a haunt because of fire regulations.
You mean it's the safest place to build a haunt because of fire regulations? I think as an industry, we have to be careful of using words like, how do I get around the fire code? How do I get out of this? No, those are there for a reason. Find out what the reason is and meet the intent. And I think if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to, I don't know, stand up for life safety, then I want you to be a haunt owner. If you're not willing to do that, I don't want you to do that. I don't want that to be something you're responsible for. If you think about it, we are putting people in a dark, confusing place. If there's an emergency, they have to be able to get out. That emergency could be anything. Another thing that we do that's very weird to me is mini haunts. We build a really dark maze, we play loud music, and we send in 15-year-old boys to wait for 15-year-old girls to go through. That is scary. You know, the sexual assault claims that happen in haunts are high, and I think some of it does happen. Okay, so we flipped it over. Let's see what it looks like flipped over.
The mold looks like a volcano.
Yes.
I had to beg our fire marshal to come inspect my haunt.
Sometimes in the county you get that. Here's the thing with that. As soon as they see it, if there's a fire there and someone dies, and that fire marshal has never been there, they can say, I never knew, I never saw it. We never got to inspect that property. But if they see it and inspect it and then someone dies, their butt is on the line. So if there's a fire marshal in your haunted house, think about that. Their name is then associated with your inspection. So they're responsible to make sure that you're safe long after they're gone. This will be difficult.
What are your thoughts on Be Something Studios?
Wow. Okay, so most people won't even know Be Something Studios because Be Something Studios is now Zagone Studios, and Be Something Studios made my favorite masks back in the day. For 3.5 years of my life, my job, I was a rollerblading wolfman in downtown Orlando. I had the t-shirt of the bar I worked for, furry sleeves and gloves, and a Be Something Studios wolfman mask. And I wore that for 3.5 years or so, every Friday and Saturday night, handing out free admission flyers in downtown Orlando. This is where I will use all of my appendages, including my belly, to hold the mold down while I try to get the head out. Ding! Now, if your clay does not come out of the mold this easy, you are probably not using pledge. Remember those couple coats of pledge I sprayed on this? And that made all the difference.
Alan, keep on rocking in the free world. You're a constant inspiration to those of us who run haunts of our own and consider Halloween a year-long affair. Good night, all.
Oh, what kind words. Thank you and good night. See how this is just peeling out?
Any tips on adding hair to sock masks?
If you're making your sock mask out of latex, then I would just latex the hair on. Or you could contact cement it, but latex is going to have a little bit of superior stretch.
rollerblades while mold making.
That would be doing it in hard mode, my friend.
This is Woo Woo Terror on Church Street. That's Rob O'Brien.
I did work at Terror on Church Street.
John Humphrey says you make this look easy.
That is my job.
Didn't you used to do rollerblading vlogs?
No, I did not. Well, okay, I've done some videos. Like I have a couple videos on my YouTube channel of my dogs pulling me around on rollerblades. That was more just a fun thing.
Yeah, you did one of the dogs pulling you.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah, some of my faves were Phil the Lady Di, the Bully. A lot of the ones that line, they were just so goofy and really creepy looking at the same time.
I liked all their Wolfman masks. They were very good. They had some great sculptors back in the day. I think they were, trend-setting at that time. I learned a lot from Be Something Studios about masks. This is the part. Now see how nice and flat this sits? It's because I flattened off that top. I don't have to put a bucket under it or a towel or anything. It's just going to sit here like that. And I can fill this up with latex all the way to the top. I'll get the ears, I'll get all that. And then it just sits there, then I dump it out. Use engineering to make your life easier. You could save this clay, but for me it has like plaster chips and stuff in it, so I don't want to. You can't make me. You're not going to make me feel bad about putting it in a landfill because it's land.
Can you reuse the clay?
You absolutely can reuse the clay. I just don't. Because I want to use new clay. This is going to have little plaster chips and things in it because it's been through the molding process.
Says, yep, back then I seen lots of cool masks from lots of distortion stuff, Be Something Studios, Paper Magic Group, stuff like that.
Paper Magic Group, yes. Bump in the Night Productions was another good one. And Elusive Concepts, remember them? The Chiodo brothers did a lot of sculpting for them. But that's back when Death Studios was kind of just starting and becoming a powerhouse. Here come to browse. Yeah, clay is just coming out of this sucker.
Because you pledged it?
Because I pledged it.
I wish some of these masks were still around. I only see pics on Google since I wasn't around back then. And Fat Alien said, "Oh no, I'm too late."
Well, you get to see me cleaning the mold. And as soon as I stop the video, you can just play it from the beginning, Fat Alien. How many people watching are actually going to go to MHC? And who was it who was making the spider? Was it just Tommy who was making a spider?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I have to scroll up here. What's it in here? How many masks can you get from one plaster mold?
All right. You will get 10 beautiful copies of your mask. You will get 10 more pretty good copies of your mask. You will get 10 more meh copies of your mask. And then you will get 30 pretty poor copies of your mask. So it's just going to erode a little bit in time. I mean, it's a sedimentary stone, you know, that's basically what it is, that we build up over time. And then, but every time you pull the latex out of it, it erodes it a little bit.
Is clear Plastidip a good idea to seal in paint on latex masks?
It's okay. Glossifier I use on certain spots to keep it glossy, but to actually seal it in, I would use like a Liquitex varnish. It comes in clear, gloss, matte, whatever. Liquitex varnish.
Covered in Catholic.
This is one ear, almost all the way cleaned out. You guys want to look down like a mold's eye view? Come on, I'll move you. I like the way you move. I like the way. I like the way. There we go. I'm using a very rounded tool here. There's no sharp edges on that because I don't want to nick it.
Says hello from California. That is awesome. Thank you.
Oh.
Is there anything like that coming to the Twin Cities, like MHC?
Forgive me. What's the Twin Cities?
Indianapolis, I believe. Looks like Yoda from that angle.
Yes. Definitely has his ears.
Yeah, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Not that I know of. Not that I know of, I'm afraid.
So Minnesota.
But, you know, it's not about what's in your area. Listen, travel. By God, get out in the world. It doesn't have to come to you for you to go see it. Transworld is in St. Louis every year. I live in Dallas, Texas. And I go. And when I lived in Orlando, I went to Transworld. Back then it was in Chicago. And I went every year. And I was poor. So I found a way.
Drive from Texas to Ohio.
We
13 straight years.
We drove 13 straight years from Texas to Columbus, Ohio.
23 hours straight.
Yeah, 23-hour drive. We did it every year. And so that's why it kind of freaks me out to hear people complaining, oh, it moved from Columbus to Chicago. So now it's too far, I can't go. Shut up, get in the car. It's 5 hours. You can do it, my friend. You can do it. You can't do it? Have a friend drive you. That's fine.
Road trips are awesome.
Road trips can be awesome.
Thoughts on recasts? Have you ever had to deal with recasters stealing your work?
Yep.
Stealing your work?
Absolutely, I have. A little bit on masks, but mostly on the little necklaces that I sell. People steal those because they're easy to mold in silicone.
Alien Fat Alien says, I'm scared to fly.
Drive. I drive almost everywhere. I'd much rather drive than fly because I'm fat for an airplane seat. It's not comfortable. So I'd rather drive. And frankly, if it's a 8-hour drive or less, it's almost faster to drive than it is to fly. Think about it. You got to get to the airport 2 hours before you have to get there. So that's 2 hours. And then, you know, you board and depart, and however, let's say your flight is 3 hours. You know, you got 2 hours on the front end. I mean, it's a mess. And then you have to drive to the airport. So, you know, for us, our airport drive is an hour, hour and a half, depending. We could be on our way there. Yeah, that's 1/8 of the trip. And then when you get there, you ain't got no car.
Rob O'Brien said, I love Surly Allen.
Well, drive. Come on, man. Go do things. Be out there in the world. It's not about waiting for something to come to you. If you wait for things to come to you, they won't. Look at people who are waiting for the bus. Look at people who are waiting for anything. You don't want to help them. They look sad. I've just cut you off from watching anything cool, didn't I?
One day I will make it to Transworld.
Come on.
Did you say you were going to Midsummer Scream?
I did not say that.
What has been some of the hardest pieces to mold?
Gloves. Anytime I have to make gloves, that is a very tough mold because you have to make a mold wall around them. And that mold wall has to follow every finger.
Road trips give you a chance to sit back and relax. Airports are full of stress.
You can stop and pee whenever you want. That's awesome. Road snacks. Hello. People need, in order to add to the world, you kind of have to see the world. If I don't see things, then I'm not going to come up with new ideas for masks, costumes, haunt characters, whatever. Even if I go to another haunted house and see something they did, that will inspire me to make something. It's not exactly the same. I'm not ripping them off because, you know, everybody kind of armchair quarterbacks it. Man, I saw that, but I was expecting that thing to do this. So I'm going to go back and make a thing that does this.
Is it normal for RD407 latex to smell sweet?
Sweet? No. It should smell a little bit like cat pee. So, no. I would say that's not normal.
The thing that I was always worrying about, so I just did them like in your skull gloves video. I just buy some gloves and build up latex on top.
Works great. It works great.
Psycho Axeman says, see, this is the part no one wants to see. It's knowledge.
So I'm being very careful now, and I'm working the nose. Remember that nose was big and it hooked down a little bit? I'm working from the underside of the nose, because if I scratch the mold there, no one will see it. If I work the top side of the nose, people are going to see that if I mess it up. I've reached the point of undercut that people were talking about and worried about. I am not worried. I am not afeared. A lot of times a piece of clay will not come out because it's the exact same size as the hole that it's in. So if you take a bit out of the middle and then you can fold it from the edges, it comes out. You're giving it an escape. Putting out a mold is therapeutic.
Is there a solution you can use to clean clay from your mold?
Yes. Water-based clay. That solution is water. Once I am done picking the big pieces out, I'll take this sucker out and I'll power wash it tomorrow. And that power washer is going to get this mold all the way back to just pure white.
The only time you fail at something is when you stop trying.
Indeed. And a winner is just a loser who tried one more time. Those are silly cliches, and yet they true, yo.
What are the masks has like a brain, so the top of the head is removable. Usually I just got glue. Since it easily comes off to temporarily keep it on.
I would use contact cement for that. Contact cement is a good glue for latex to latex applications. That may have been typed weird, but I think maybe that was the question. If it was a question, you could just be telling us about your cool mask, and that's fine too.
Plunk says hello to you, Shannon. That's Plunk the cat, Scary Mary's cat.
Oh!
We love Plunk. He's an awesome kitty. He goes and when their show is open, he walks up and down the queue and entertains people.
I see.
Well, Jonesy says hello to you.
All right.
Jonesy is currently napping in my arms.
Look at this cool thing. Know what that? That's the end of the nose. Hee hee! We did it. That sucker is cleaned out. I got to the end of the nose. I see a little bit here on the lip I want to get out. That's it. Everything else is just a little tiny speck of clay that's stuck a little bit, but this mold is mostly clean. There you go.
Bruce says hi.
Hey, Rue. You're late. Back to work. All right. Anyway, gang, that was fun. We made a mold. We cleaned it out. Tomorrow I will power wash it, pour it up, and because I'm in Texas and it'll be sunny, I can probably pull it tomorrow evening. So there you go. You guys are great. I really appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. 43 of you guys right now. Amazing. And I will talk at y'all later. Thanks. Hang out. See you later. Go make stuff.